So yesterday this template on Twitter came up for JoJo. Matty, not the bad guy, did one. Xfords did one. Now it's my turn to do one. And I just hit my knuckle against my desk here, so you probably heard that. Anywho, mine might be a bit weird to some people, and that's understandable, because it's very hard to condense a 30-year-old still running series into a template. So I want to talk about some of the choices I made, and yeah, hopefully I won't sound batshit crazy. And hey, if you like hearing about JoJo, which a lot of you probably do, well, at least those in my main channel, well, everyone should like JoJo to be honest. But anyway, you'll get to hear me talking about it for about half an hour. So let's go. Favorite JoJo, Johnny Joestar. I think this one's fairly like simple. You know, this is a pretty safe choice as your favorite JoJo. And I hit the fucking desk again. So Johnny, he starts off as quite a flawed character, and I think this allows for a lot of really good development throughout the part, as opposed to, you know, most of the Joestars are pretty good people. The worst you could really say is like JoJo at the beginning seems like an asshole, but it's just he's got a, when he fights Kakyu and you find out that he has a very clear sense of justice. Johnny is in the Steel Ball run for very selfish reasons. He is a very morally grey character at times, but I found him to be the most realistic, the most human. He has a lot of growth. Him crying for Gyro at the end of part 7 is one of my favourite moments of the part, and will always stick with me. His dark determination as well. And I really like the relationship he had with Gyro, where a lot of times Gyro would try and keep him in check. So like when Johnny wanted to kill Diego, Gyro was like, you know, we're not going to kill him, you know, we're not murderers. And I liked that kind of dynamic. He's just a really, you know, human character, so I really like him. Kira is my favourite villain. Again, I think this is essentially everyone's favourite villain. I love serial killers. I love that kind of like mentally like what's the word? Mentally unhinged characters like this. I love you know, this man who's got such a calm disposition most of the time, but he's just capable of such evil. It makes him seem far more terrifying to me than a guy who's screaming his head off. I guess in a sense you could compare him to Dio. Dio is quite a layered character as well, but I think initially Kira is a lot easier to understand. Just a big fan of the serial killer trope. Awesome fashion sense. He's very chilling. Like when he's, you know, talking about killing Shigechi, when he's like, Shigechi's crawling on the floor, he's absolutely terrifying. Awesome sense, his awesome fashion sense. His like, he's quite egotistical, and I like how you know, even when he's in a horrible situation, he's got this, the desire he has to have a quiet life is like so strong that he will always try and find a way out of any situation. It's the most like, I guess from the protagonist's perspective, his determination is probably his like the scariest aspect of him. So while his stand may not be as strong as Dio's, the mental like aspect of his character is really like threatening to go against, because he'll just try whatever he can to get out, which is to get out of a bad situation, which is really highlighted when he cuts his own hand off. Because for any, you know, normal character who doesn't have that kind of willpower, that would have been the end for them when you know, beaten to shit and cornered by Josuke and Kiasu. He just has a lot of awesome moments in the part, so you know, how can you not like him, basically? He also, like, even when he's losing, he seems to, like, he never really, well, he loses his cool a lot, but he's never, like, you know, reduced to some pathetic sniveling mess. Like, even when he dies and he's with Raimi, he's like, he's just like, oh, cool, my quiet life, what I've always wanted. You know, the fact that he's able to take that in, like, take dying in his stride, is just so awesome. So yeah, Kira is 10 out of 10. Favourite part, Venturio. This should really go without saying. I think it's got the best fights. Grateful Dead, White Album, Metallica, what else? Black Sabbath. It's got the best fights out of any part. essentially they're all 10 out of 10 apart from like Babyface, and even Babyface is still a great fight, and the only reason that seems bad is because it's surrounded by such fantastic fights. Everything from the assassin team is like, the pinnacle of JoJo essentially. So it's got my favorite group of antagonists, like I was saying, the La Squadra di Execuzione, or the Execution Team. It's got an awesome villain. It's got an awesome protagonist. The theme of fate is really well presented in this fight with Giorno and Diavolo opposing each other so well, like thematically. It's hard not to love it, Just so many cool, inventive powers. The cast have some great powers as well, with Sticky Fingers, Moody Blues, Gold Experience. Allow for a lot of unexpected twists and turns and fights. I absolutely adore Ventoreo. Favorite Brojo, I put down Kiasu, and I'm just going to take a drink of this water. It might seem very odd for me not to put Gyro there. The simple reason is because I just finished doing a video on Kiasu, so he was in my mind at this moment. It's probably the reason that part 7 is kind of lacking in this grid, because I haven't read it in a while, so say in 2 months' time, this grid might completely change, but Kiasu has some great, just like, him and Josuke get along so well, and the dynamic between them, Josuke, say, slugging off Okiyasu's stupidity, allow for some quite, humorous moments, and it's these kind of moments that really let their personalities shine. The anime didn't really show it that well, because it did cut out a lot of small one-liners, but just seeing them goof around, it really does present the fact that they're just teenagers quite well. Getting Italian food, doing a get-rich-quick scheme with Shigechi, just fucking about, doing stuff that normal teenagers would do. And I think balancing the high school aspect with the stand of the week aspect, it was very important in Diamond is Unbreakable, and Kiasu really allows it to shine. And I guess as far as them having a quite close relationship as friends is really highlighted in the last arc when Kiasu dies and comes back, and Josuke just starts screaming at him why the hell didn't you get up earlier? It's that kind of and it feels like a very genuine relationship, and they complement each other so well. So I have to say that Kiasu is my favorite, even if, say, Gyro may Gyro and Johnny. Gyro may stand up for Johnny more, but I just really love the dynamic between Josuke and Kiasu. Favorite supporting character, I put Rohan. I really put Rohan in here because he was the first really different character, different how am I trying to say this? He was a really different ally from everyone who's came before that. In my opinion, you got Iggy, who was a dog, but as far as humans go, he was kind of detached from everyone else. Kiasu, Koichi, Josuke, they're all high schoolers, and you got this adult with them. You got Joestar as well, but Jotaro's different because he's a Joestar. He was related to Josuke, but Rohan is very he's separated from everyone else, and it's kind of shown in the way that they're allies, but he's not buddy. He's a kind of uneasy alliance between Rohan and Josuke, and I kind of liked how he presented something different to JoJo at this point, instead of it just being this group of great friends fighting evil, which is essentially what it had been up until he arrived. And the dynamic he has with Josuke, where everyone really is kind of they're not great friends, but they do work together, apart from, he does end up being good friends with Koichi, but I just liked how his role in the cast was a bit different, and his stand is also very impressive. I think his stand is probably the most creative up until that point, in my opinion. So really, for the allies at least, so really I've put Rohan as my favourite supporting character because he was very different, and I think he signifies, when he arrives, after that, we start to get more interesting characters, especially in like, part 8, where the cast for that is just completely wacky with so many different like age groups in the protagonist, in the allies. So I think me trying to say that made it come out as a jumbled mess. But basically, Rohan, he's got a good place in the group, which is different, a cool stand. And yeah, I like Rohan. Design-wise, all about him. He's just a cool dude. Favourite crew, as I was trying to say with my last point, basically I like the JoJolian gang because of how varied they are. We've got like an 8-year-old, we've got a 59-year-old, now we've got Joshu, we've got a 9-year-old, a 59-year-old, we've got Josuke, it's so varied, instead of it just being a bunch of teenagers. And the family dynamic is really interesting. It's one of the things that keeps me reading JoJolian. Norisuke's got the struggle of trying to, help Josuke, but he also doesn't want to break the family apart, and he loves his son Jobin, who's clearly doing some shady stuff. Joshu's got this inferiority complex where he just doesn't feel as respected, as loved perhaps, as his siblings, Jobin and Hato. I believe Hato's her name. I really like that aspect of the part. Yasuo doesn't really fit into that as well because she's not part of the family. Yasuo is just a cool, cool gal. Another interesting aspect about the crew in this, which is why I like them, is how varied their stands are. King Nothing cannot fight. Was it Paper King Moon? I think Chirugi's stand can't really fight either. It's very weird that a lot of the allies in this part don't really have fighting stands. Apart from, Joshu does, but Joshu doesn't really know how to use his. Joshu's very interesting because of his character development that he's having and will continue to have. So yeah, I really like the crew because of their diversity and the family dynamic, which could cause some interesting tensions in the future, and already has with Norisuke. Right. I'm not very good at this whole talking in depth unscripted thing. So, favourite part 3 stand. I chose this. I chose Darby's stand. It looks whack, it looks really weird. I think I kind of like how it looks. I like the colours at least. I only got the one kind of greenish brown colour. I quite like it, even if it's a very odd design. A big reason I chose this is because it's got a cool ability that leads to possibly the best fight in part 3. Very simple. Darby versus Jotaro is different from everything else. It signifies a shift from power-based stands to more technical ability-based stands where raw power won't really cut it. So yeah, awesome fight, signifies a good change in the series, and the stand design's pretty cool as well. Favorite part 4 stand, Enigma. He looks a lot cooler in the anime in my opinion, but I've got a manga image. I do quite like his design. Mostly I love his reveal. A lot of the love I have for the stand comes down to the anime portrayal, because I think the anime fight with Enigma is 10 times better than the manga. His reveal coming out of this black smoke is awesome. Really utilizes the horror aspect of this stand. Him capturing Tomoko is fantastic. I just really like the horror aspect of it. So yeah, cool ability as well. Really just an awesome fight. So it's his favorite part 4 stand, but it's hard to tell what makes it your part 4 favorite stand, because at the bottom it's got favorite standability. So a lot of the favorites I've chosen here are because of the fights. But yeah, I really like its. I didn't really choose Enigma because of the design, but I just really like its reveal, and the fight was awesome. Favorite part 5 stand, Grateful Dead. I love the Grateful Dead fight, but I did kind of choose this one because of its design. Actually, no, I said that I didn't choose a lot of these because of their design. I'm pretty sure I choose all of these for their design apart from Enigma. But anyway, Grateful Dead, the eyes are quite unsettling. I like that about it. The colours are cool with the green or yellow eyes really popping out against the pinkish purpley colour for the body. I'm colourblind, so it can be hard to, associate colours well. big thing about it for me is how different it is, because it is not like humanoid in any way. So it isn't really meant for fighting, but I find it kind of cool. It's a slow, lumbering stand that slowly walks towards you, and it does fight Sticky Fingers briefly, and I think that's kind of cool that it can still fight to a degree despite how different it is. So Grateful Dead's pretty cool. The ability is pretty standard. I don't really have much to say about the ability. Causing some to age. Standard stuff. So I guess I'm really including the stand because of its design, though I do think it's cool that it's essentially this massive nuke ability that ages everyone in the train. The like potential for destruction it has is pretty cool. Right, Diver Down, I don't really like Diver Down that much. I basically chose it because none of the stands in Part 6 really stood out. I think out of all the stands in Part 6, it does have the coolest design, but I don't love it that much compared to anything else in my favourite like stand list. It's cool enough. I can get behind it. I was considering putting Manhattan Transfer for some reason, but I couldn't really figure out why, so I didn't, basically. Favourite Part 7 stand? I chose Tubular Bells just because it's so like unassuming. Like it's such a powerful stand. It can really like, fuck you up if it hits you. Like when it hit Scarlet, it totally messed her face up. But it's a balloon. It doesn't look threatening in the slightest, but it's quite powerful and quite devastating when it does attack you. It's a very violent stand. So that's why I chose it. I really like Michael, even if there's not much to his personality. This unwavering loyalty of his is quite cool, and the stand design's unassuming, and I liked that contrast between how simple it looks and how terrifying it actually is. Favorite Part 8 stand? Part 8 has some of the best stand designs in the series. Soft and Wet is gorgeous. I love how simplistic it is with its colour scheme. It's got a fantastic reveal. Mostly because Araki's art in Part 8 is gorgeous, and the reveal was so nice, so well detailed. It coming out of this like yellow like bath tile was really cool to see. Yeah, I don't think much about the power itself. I just really like the contrasting colours and how simple the stand looks. I chose King Nutcall as well because I couldn't decide between the two. I think I chose King Nutcall because I like the colour design it has when it's first introduced. The blue colour design is quite nice. And I chose this one actually because it does have a cool ability. It's quite simple, but I just really dig the fact it can unscrew like your hand and stuff. And the way Joshu first used it was quite nice. How he like didn't fully comprehend it. So it was really cool to see Joshu get a stand. And yeah, I just like it. I can't really, analyze why I like it that well, but it's just a cool looking stand, and the reveal of it was also pretty cool. Favorite stand design went to Soft and Wet because essentially the reason I liked it was just because how dope it looks. So again, awesome design. I've already said stuff about that. Favorite standability, I went with Heaven's Door. There's a lot of ones that could go in here probably, but I went with Heaven's Door. I went with this because, as I said before, it's pretty creative and it's so like versatile. I thought this was like a big moment for Well, a big moment's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's such a creative, like overpowered ability. It kind of stood out from the rest of the protagonist's powers in Part 4, so that's why I chose it. And seeing Rohan summon it is awesome. It looks really cool. Right, if you hear me like pausing between doing these, it's because I'm taking a drink, because I'm talking, a lot, but I've run out of my drink, so we're not drinking anything anymore. Oh god, I thought I wasn't recording my voice for a minute. I freaked the hell out. Favorite animal, rat. Some people put down Iggy. Iggy didn't do much for me. His personality wasn't much. I put down the rat because it's got a terrifying stand yet again, melting people in this like fleshy cube. And it's a rat. Like, a rat almost killed Jotaro. I think that's really cool how such a simple creature manages to be so powerful. But it does fit in with the idea that these animals have killer instincts, so having a stand can be quite deadly. Well, if an animal has one. I really like that aspect of JoJo. The rat fight was amazingly well done in the anime. Gorgeous shading. Yeah, it's just one of the best fights in the anime because how well produced it was. Favorite girl, Yasuo. Or Yasuo, however you want to say it. Essentially just because I think she's gorgeous. She looks really nice in the manga. Not really for a personality reason. I don't care for her outfit, but the pink hair, and she's just drawn really well, a lot of the time in JoJolion. Like that scene where she's got her bandages on, seeing Josuke. Now seeing Josuke, she's just adorable. So yeah, good on you, Yasuo. Favorite minor villain, Prosciutto. Prosciutto, I'd like to be done Prosciutto and Pesci, because they're essentially the same. I love how the dynamic he has with his colleague, always spurring him on. He's, the determination he has is quite impressive, and I love how he really treats Pesci as a friend. I think it really highlights that the La Squadra group are more than just, stand users that are out to kill the protagonists. They are a quite similar group with a friendship going on, which he really highlighted with Pesci. His design's quite cool as well. It's quite simple for JoJo standards. It really does feel like it's basically just a simple suit, but it does feel like something a mafia member would wear. It's got a sense of refinement to it, elegance. So I like the aspect of his character. He looks quite suave, basically. And yeah, Prosciutto's pretty dope. I was tempted to put Metallica in here, but I've just got so many good memories from the dynamic that Prosciutto has with Pesci, I just had to put him in. Which leads to favourite fight, The Grateful Dead. I'm pretty sure this is my favourite fight in JoJo. Pesci's slow build up with Pesci becoming an absolute monster at the end is awesome. I love Prosciutto's sacrifice, or rather not sacrifice, but the fact that he's still doing all he can to help out his friend when he's crushed underneath the rail tracks. The train's a cool setting for it. It's just awesome. The dynamic, Prosciutto and Pesci are great villains that work so well together, which is why I love them so much. I've done a video on Grateful Dead, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts on it, I think that's basically it, but I really like Pesci and Prosciutto, and that's basically it for that fight. Favorite pose, I went with Pucci because he does this. It's a quite simple pose, putting his hand on his hip, but he does it a lot of times, and I just quite like it. It's a simple pose, but I just think it looks awesome on him. Pucci may not be the best one. A lot of people don't like him that much. Meti put him as his least favourite, but boy, the man has got a fashion sense and can pose with the best of them. Speaking of favourite fashion, we have Byrne Higashikata. His outfit is just completely it's so weird, but it fits in with the idea of the spiked outfit fits the whole rock human thing going on. Well, not that he's a rock human, but he's associated with him, and I think you can kind of tell that through his clothing. His scars are cool. His hair clip is cool. It just looks dope. I'm not a fashion guy, but he just looks really awesome. So yeah, favorite death goes to Prosciutto. One of the things I like about characters, I like it in JoJo when characters are dying and you see their stand visibly deteriorate, like with Kira and Killer Queen. And Prosciutto has this with Grateful Dead. It's slowly crumbling away as he's, passing. I love it. The guy was dying, still doing all he could to defeat Bucciolati, and in his dying words, he gave words of encouragement to Pesci, which was a real catalyst for Pesci going all out and trying to win, even if he didn't manage. The fact that his dying words were words of encouragement to Pesci, again, really highlights the fact that these guys were good friends. All-Star main goes to Fugo. I didn't play All-Star Battle that much. Fugo was the last character I played. I remember being okay at him, so Fugo it is. Battle Cry. I love how it Bucciolati's ends off with him saying Arrivederci or something. He's got like a send off, is basically like, you're fucked, mate. I liked that quite a lot. So, because it stood out from the rest for that reason, it wins. And well, he does the Arrivederci in the Grateful Dead fight, which is my favourite fight. So again, I've got good memories of it. Favourite voice goes to Kira because Kira, I think people like wanted to have the JoJo game like Kira back, but I think this Kira manages to play him so well when he's just a normal, calm person. Just the normality to his voice can be really frightening at times. So he really stood out as a great voice actor for me. I'd put down Enigma Boy as well. What's it, Teranosuke? Because when he gets really excited about something, it again sounds quite frightening in a cheesier way though. So I quite liked him. Talking of favourite deaths, actually, I quite liked. I was considering putting this down, the Metallica death as well. What's his name? Risotto Nero. His death is quite good because a giant like, fuck you to Diavolo. So that was really nice to see. Where he almost, he died with dignity, which I quite liked. It was a fitting end for the execution team. Least favourite fight, I put down the Sun because I can identify problems with it, and it was boring. But a lot of fights in JoJo are just boring, especially from like part 3. So while I put down the Sun as my least favourite fight, it's not my least favourite arc, because that goes to the one where the Josuke meeting Carrera in part 8, I think that's her name, because it's a fight that's not going to, like, what we learned in that fight didn't make any sense, like, because like a big part of that fight was that a big part of that arc with Carrera was essentially like plot development, where it's like, oh man, okay, so this is what Josuke looked like. Carrera used to be friends. They were not friends. Araki, afterwards just completely got rid of that. Carrera now doesn't fit into the story at all, and that arc really highlights the problems that Joe Julian has. So I really despise that fight, that arc, because it was essentially a waste of time, because everything we learnt in it turned out to not be true. Least favourite stand goes to Wheel of Fortune. Like, the abilities of it, a car that's like can drive in walls, can like fit through gaps. It's so boring, and the design's ass. It's basically just a slightly geared up car, so I'm not a fan of Wheel of Fortune. The fight's boring as well. I put down these guys as my least favourite crew. Part 3 dudes. I didn't consider the part 1 and 2 gang to be crews, so I put down these guys. Otherwise, maybe the part 2 gang would be my least favourite. I'm not sure. I just put these down because none of the characters really left an impact with me. That's the straight truth. So I'm just not a big fan of them. Least favourite part goes to part 1. When I first watched JoJo, I wasn't really sure if I liked it, if I loved it or hated it in part 1. I appreciate Jonathan as a character. He can be quite grating with this like sense of justice. The soundtrack was ass in the anime, which is one of the reasons I didn't like it. In my opinion, it wasn't as good as it later becomes. It's just quite simple with its fights, and it wasn't very long. It's not as memorable as like part 4, which is 5 times its length. Cars as well didn't click with me. I understand that he is well written and stuff. He's not a bad character, but for me at least, he didn't really stand out. He wasn't really center stage that long on his own. It was really the Pillar Men as a whole, so he didn't really click with me that much, and I left feeling essentially nothing for him. Least favorite JoJo goes to Joseph Joestar because he doesn't really develop in part 2. A lot of the fights he wins, and it's essentially just an ass pull, and I feel like there's big personality changes with him in like 3 and 4, which is understandable because he's a lot older, but it made it hard to really see them as the same person, especially with him cheating on Joseph and cheating on Suzy Q in part 4. You wouldn't think that he'd do that. So for that reason, him being kind of inconsistent, not really seeming as the same character, not developing, and ass-pulling fights, he's my least favourite. For why I'm not choosing Jonathan as my least favourite is because I do respect his unwavering sense of justice, and he's a very pure character, a very good character in the textbook definition, essentially. And that is my template thingy, all my favourite JoJo stuff.